you bought the cheapest camera you could find. How much better is the image quality out of this camera than your Ilford $60 camera?
I think the Ilford was better.
Yeah, but yeah, this camera's got people riled up in terms of it is different to. I mean, I guess it's different to any camera. The closest cameras are either actual film half frame cameras like the Pentax 17.
17, yeah.
Or I don't know what else. Like, what else is?
Well, I mean, you can pick up an old Fujifilm X-Half for like $200 on Marketplace or eBay. But film's going to burn you.
Yeah, you got to process the film, all that sort of stuff. Completely different thing. Yeah. But then on the other hand, you can also pick up numerous compact cameras. Probably. Yeah. All right, you bought the cheapest camera you could find a month or two ago. Matt Crummins roasted you for it.
Yeah,
and you ran around Melbourne, had a great time taking street photos with his very, very cheap. What brand was it? Ilford?
Yeah, it was a little. Well, yeah. Ilford. Someone put an Ilford sticker on it.
On a tiny little. How much better is the image quality specifically out of this camera than your Ilford $60 camera?
I think the Ilford was better. Maybe.
What?
Yeah, in some case, in bright light. Yep. It was better at. I think the image clarity was better. The colors weren't.
Yeah, because Fujifilm has very nice film simulations. Their JPEGs are great. That's
the thing with this camera. The problem with this camera is that they've put a really powerful processor, and like I mentioned at the start of the show, it makes sense that they did that because why build another processor just for this little camera when they already have proven architecture around chips? All right, let's just stick with the one chip. It's cost effective just to make the one chip for every camera now, which is what they seem to be doing. But it has a very small. This lens only protrudes from the camera by about 18 millimeters. It has a leaf shutter behind the lens, but it's a very simple build. In fact, they keep saying that the lens and the EVF, even though they're vertical, have the same kind of perspective as the Fujifilm disposable cameras, the quick snaps. And for a second, it made me wonder, have they put that lens in this camera? Because the quality out of this lens isn't great.
Right.
Yes, it has an aperture ring. It has manual focus ring. They're tiny, but they work. It does have autofocus. It's very slow. In fact, it's probably about as slow as that Ilford point and shoot. When I was shooting street with the Ilford, with that little cheap, it was like, what did I say? It was $60. When I was shooting street with the Ilford, I would have to time about a second before someone walked into my kind of focus zone that I'd set up to capture the shot. I'd have to press the shutter button a second before I wanted that person to be where I wanted them to be. And so that's very hit and miss. Yep. This one here is also slow. The focus system is very slow. And when you're used to a modern digital camera or a current gen digital camera and you press the focus button, you expect fairly snappy response for most of the part. This isn't snappy at all. It's slow. And so there is a delay. And especially in film mode, it feels like there's an even longer delay between when you press that button and it actually acquires focus and takes the shot. But the thing with the film camera mode is that because it's an OVF, you don't know if things are actually in focus because the back screen won't let you preview the image before you take it. So you're trusting the camera's autofocus, which is slow and has a delay. So yeah, anyway.
We're so used to Fujifilm making great cameras that make great images. Like the whole X100 series, the reason that got popular to start with is because it was one of the smallest cameras that had great image quality. It wasn't like it was just just the fact that it had a vintage aesthetic that people wanted.
No.
All the photographers were keen on it because they're like, wow, APS-C size sensor, really sharp f2 lens in a
and most were shooting
package.
JPEGs.
Yep. And it felt fun to shoot. And I actually saw in a comment somewhere that was like, you would be better off with an original X100 for a lot less money secondhand than this new camera. And it's
Yeah,
hard to argue with that. Although there's a lot of
It's very
differences, but
hard.
it's hard to
Yeah.
argue with that. That doesn't have.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to have a Fujifilm person on this. You're a Fujifilm person, but an actual one. Like someone that gets paid by Fujifilm to push back on all the on all the stuff like that, where they would say, well,
Yeah.
this has got it's got app connectivity, it's got touch screens and all sorts of stuff that's not in the original
Yeah.
X100. But
But image quality is what we're here for. We're here to make images.